Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50 plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien. I am a director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud graduate. I am here to celebrate the successes of our alum, and together we will share stories that will uplift, inspire, and often amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to the alumni of Nassau Community College interested in sharing their experiences while attending the college and the secrets to their success. Look for many new and exciting events on the Alumni Association social media pages and share any exciting news with us on Facebook, Instagram, or on our webpage at ncc.edu/alumni. Or find me on Twitter at Dr. Lynnda Nadien. Did you know Leo the Lion is the mascot for Nassau Community College? Lions are ruled by Leo and fire. The male lions represent pride, while the females stand for teamwork. Together, we are Lion Tales. Today, I would like to welcome to Lion Tales Cecilia Bradley, class of 2022. Cecilia has her past degree, Nassau Community College, and presently she is at SUNY Plattsburgh. Her hobbies include reading her Bible and self-help and self-development books, gardening, cycling, journaling, and listening to music and podcasts. She is a volunteer and a community activist and involvement with the Boy Scouts of America. She is a baker, a crafter, and a creative writer. And future work will be in the field of social work. And attending Nassau Community College has had a great impact on her life's journey. And as a non-traditional student, Nassau Community College has taught her that it is never too late to earn a degree and that we should never stop learning. And she remembered that her father graduated from Nassau Community College as a non-traditional student, and a year later it impacted her to do the same thing. And we would like to welcome Cecilia Bradley, class of 2022, to Lion Tales. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about your decision to attend Nassau Community College. You do have a legacy because a lot of family members are also alum. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
So many years ago, my father came to Nassau Community College. I was a young girl at the time. That inspired me right from there, right from the jump. So some time later, I'd say after I had my fourth child, as a non-traditional student, I decided that I wanted to follow in his footsteps. But even prior to that, I had my other son who actually graduated. I can't remember the year now, forgive me. I'd have to look on his tassel. Yeah. But he graduated from Nassau Community College. And then I came along, and now I have another son who's at taking culinary classes here at Nassau Community College. So it's been a great experience for all of us.
Yeah. And so what was the initial school experience like, coming back? We were speaking about this with other guests as well. When you're an adult and you're an established, you have your family, and then all of a sudden you're deciding to come back. What is it like being on campus, and how did you feel about approaching all this new coursework?
I felt intimidated, because I was older. And I felt that often for a while. And then I eventually got over it.
Yeah.
Because I started seeing more people like me, more non-traditional students. And it just became the norm. But initially I was a little, concerned. I was a little like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
There are some young kids here.
There are. That's true. And so what were some of the favorite courses that you did have that you really liked?
Well, definitely it's a social work class. I think I learned the most about just life from Professor Jewett, Orville Jewett, and just really from the first day of class until it ended. Like his classes really taught me about just human behavior. It taught me about just success and succeeding and just understanding people, understanding mental health, how, significant it is to take care of your mental health. So he played a huge role in helping me to understand that and really enjoying his classes and lectures.
Yeah. And now, as a future social work candidate. So you'll be going to Plattsburgh. Will you take remote classes or you'll travel?
I still do.
Oh, you still do.
It's an online course.
Yeah.
So this is my senior year. I'll be graduating next year.
Oh, so that's great. And so then when you come out, you'll have a bachelor's in social work?
Correct.
And then what does the future look like in terms of the area in which you want to focus in your social work? Is it children or elderly?
I'm still deciding that. I enjoy working. I work with the young children now, and I enjoy working with young children. I enjoy working with individuals with disabilities.
Yeah.
'Cause my son is autistic. I enjoy working with individuals who have mental health issues, trauma issues. It's a little bit all over the place. So I haven't really solidified exactly where I want my main focus because I am interested in so many different areas of social work.
As a parent of an autistic child, what are some of the things that you notice right away? It seems to be now it's much more parents are seeking intervention very early, where they might kind of be in denial in the past and not get the intervention as quickly as they can, in terms of speech and language and, social gatherings and how a child may react being in like a situation where there's a lot of people. What were some of the things you noticed and what were some of the interventions that helped?
I would say way back when, it's different now. Nowadays, like what you're saying, kids get intervention even before the age of 3.
Yeah.
For my son, he didn't get intervention till maybe he was like 5 or 6, maybe even 7.
Yeah.
So there was like that crucial period of time that we lost. But I knew he was autistic even before the neurologist told me because he had lack of eye contact.
Yeah.
He wasn't verbal. He wasn't doing the typical things that other kids his age were doing, and so I knew right away.
Yeah. I think one of the issues with like newborn babies and as the baby starts to grow is the eye contact.
Definitely.
Some parents do, panic immediately, especially if they're in the field because they say, oh my God, the baby didn't make eye contact, but that is one of the critical pieces of it.
Sure.
What's the difference between sort of working with the young children in the social work field and maybe older, with the elderly? Do you see what were some of your experiences like working with different groups?
You mean like what I do now? Or?
Yeah.
Well, now I just predominantly work with kids ages 1st grade to 6th grade. Mm-hmm. So I've never really worked with the older population before. But, as far as differences are concerned, I would say relating to social work.
Yeah.
I personally think working ages maybe grades 3 through 5 is an easier grade that I feel that I would gravitate towards more so than teenagers.
Yeah. And how do they want you to structure sort of group work when you're working with, let's say, 5th graders, when they're like 10, the preteen? What does that look like, structuring a group to kind of get them to, express themselves and talk about their feelings? What are some techniques that were taught?
It's a good question. Well, right now, presently, I'm not doing social work now. Right now, I'm just working with them with their faith as a faith formation coordinator. So they're grouped by grade: 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and obviously they all have their own needs, their own way of thinking, and the 6th graders are a little bit more challenging than say a 3rd grader, but they're just kind of grouped by grades right now.
And when you do. We talk a lot about, mental health, but we also talk about social emotional learning and what that looks like. And I noticed today I was teaching a small group, and it's very hard to get them to kind of talk within a group and have sort of a topic and that they can kind of project it. Do you find that to be a difficult task to get them?
I do find that, but I think what didn't help was because of COVID, they lost a really big chunk of time. So a lot of these kids they may be like 7 years old, but they're almost like they're 5 years old because they lost that socialization. Yeah. COVID just took all that away from us, unfortunately. So we're like trying to play catch up. Yeah.
And I noticed too that because of social media, I think the kids relied on it very heavily.
Sure.
And so they might not even want to talk to each other. They'll just text.
That's right.
Or they'll just send a message because they don't want to like sort of verbally interact or physically interact, which I think is very, it's something that probably could be studied. You think there's a difference between sort of mental health advocacy and social emotional learning? I think they're separate, kind of.
I would say that they would be separate. To me, mental health is really the emotional well-being of a person.
Yeah.
How they perceive life. The social component would just really be, it's similar, but to me, mental health as far as really just focusing on, how they perceive their life and where they are and how they can get through different challenges.
Right. And did you have any courses that focused on medications for young children?
Not yet.
Yeah. Because I think that's something that's
coming,
interesting too. The overuse of medication, and what are some other techniques that can be implemented before you put a child on medication?
I think more group work, more
Yeah.
talk therapy, more socialization. Doctors nowadays are very quick to put kids on medication.
That's true.
And I think looking at their behavior and looking at their surroundings and looking at where they come from and their background, that should be focused on first before we just jump to medication.
You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Cecilia Bradley, class of 2022. So your quest for study has really been inspirational, and as you pursued your degree at Nassau, how do you find going into the next part? Now you're a senior at Plattsburgh. Was there a transitional period from the 2-year into the 4-year school, or
No, I just kept going.
Yeah,
that was my game plan. My game plan is not to take a break, just to keep going. If I took a break, I would start to question myself. I'd start to lose that momentum. So even when I was here, I never took a break. I did the winter classes, I did the summer classes, I did the fall classes, I did the spring. I just kept going. I rarely took a break.
I know sometimes once you're in it, you just have to keep on going,
going.
Then all of a sudden you're done.
Done.
That's what I said to my son. I said, you won't believe it, you'll be done. And look how fast, because both of our sons are the same age, and it went by so fast.
Yes, it did.
And now, but now they have the degree. So I always say, no one can take that away from you. You earn that. That's really a special thing. Mm-hmm. And how do you approach studying for class and then completing the work?
Oh,
how do you, carve out that time?
Late nights, early mornings, a lot of weekends. I had to close my eyes to a lot of things like my house can't be perfect right now.
Yes, that's true.
The laundry can't be all, up to date right now. I had to just close my eyes and just get very focused on what needed to get done.
Yeah.
And to, make it by 11:59.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they say even, doing a doctorate, which is something that I kind of think you might be thinking about. It really was about, how to complete your doctorate in 15 minutes a day. And it really is true, because you spend at least 15 minutes kind of writing, typing something out, reading and writing. I remember in our class we had our priest, Father Patrick, was one of the students, and he was always like, oh my God, this is never going to end. And I'm like, but Father Patrick, you're a priest. He's like, I know. Then he told me, start typing out chapter 5, which is kind of like a free write to sum up your study. And I started to do that, and I ended up having like 35 or 40 pages. Not really the best work, but he kind of
thoughts on paper
inspired me to do that. And then when I went back, I said, wow, I almost have that last chapter done. Yeah. So it's something that can be done. And I always encourage everyone to keep, to go to that next level. Even if it seems like out of reach right now, you'd be surprised that, it can happen. So as a person who reads the Bible and self-help books, what would you tell people who want to be more affluent reading their Bible, or, using those books as tools for life?
I would say discipline, to discipline yourself, to set time aside every day, preferably in the morning before the day gets started. And, just to make that part of your focus, and obviously to have conversations with God all day, that's equally as important. But just really, if you can start your day with just a couple of minutes of just gratitude and grateful and, being humble and appreciative, and just reading the Bible, it sets you in the right path on
Yeah.
the journey for the day.
And I find that it's difficult to sort of understand and decipher all of it, but at the same time, it gives you a feeling of calm.
It does.
And it gives you sort of a purpose for the day when it's very quiet in the morning, too, because I like to do that, too. So when you are working now in a social work field, and I know that there's been a lot of things written about equity and inclusion, how do you feel in the field, coming out now? You're a female coming into social work, and there are men in the field as well, probably not as many. How can we make that more equitable for children and the elderly, sort of working with them and giving them sort of the tools that they need to have that social emotional health? Like we just spoke about the elderly, and when they get to a certain age, like some have dementia or some have maybe some type of Parkinson's. Have you worked with any elderly that need?
Not with the elderly. It's
Yeah.
predominantly with younger students I work with.
And what are they
Yeah.
coming to you with? Do they talk about certain things that are
Troubling them?
that
I can
trouble
think of
them?
one young man that comes to me, one young boy that comes to me weekly, and he's autistic and he's got some other things going on, and it's hard for him to sit still. And he just talks about his family, he talks about his schoolwork, he talks about maybe kids who bully him.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about things that are troubling him. So, we read together.
Yeah.
I try to get him more settled and focused, and then he returns back to his class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how do you think the next day, does that help? Today I work with the group and I told them, we were talking about reflecting, and they're like, what's reflection? I said, well, today we have the class and I want you to think about overnight what we did today and then come back tomorrow and we'll have a reflection. What does that mean? And I said, well, we're going to try to sort of talk about what we did and how you felt about it. And they were listening, but I wonder tomorrow if they will come back and sort of reflect on maybe what we spoke about and if it inspired them to be better readers and writers. Because there's a reluctance to speak and to be right or wrong. And so I think that's part of the social emotional piece too,
Definitely.
that, in the group, nobody wants to be wrong.
Right.
But at the same time, you want them to speak a little bit more in order to kind of find out what they're really feeling. Do you think we ever go overboard with that, where kids are thinking just because they had a bad day that it's, the end of the world for them?
Again, I'm thinking about another little girl now who, she was having that kind of a day. She was having a bad day. And I realized I was trying to pinpoint, what happened today? Why are you feeling this way? And then I realized, maybe that's just overkill. It's too much. Maybe she just needs someone to just sit with her, listen, talk about, I don't know, what did you color in school today? Just something very simple instead of trying to get to the root of why are you crying and what is upsetting you. And I had to take a different approach.
Right.
Yeah,
because I think that sometimes kids, it's okay to have a bad
Sure.
day. I think
Right.
we should focus on that too. It
Right.
doesn't mean that you need to be medicated
That's
or
right.
you have to go
That's
to
right.
to.
And I think that was what I had to realize within myself. I was so focused on getting, what is it that's making you cry?
Yeah.
That it wasn't, she was having a bad day.
Yeah. It's really amazing because we want to do it the right way. Did you feel that? What were some of the techniques that they taught you here in the social work courses that you felt you could bring right into the field and you felt comfortable doing?
I guess different interviewing styles, way in which we can connect with different individuals, really listening, really just listening.
Yeah.
That's key, to just really to listen what the other person needs to say, to mirror, I can never say the word, mirror it back to them.
Yeah.
And to just take that piece and just to follow it through. And not to be, because I have a tendency of maybe just trying to always get to the root of the problem instead of just sitting back and just hearing what the other person has to say. So that's a skill, that's a practice that takes a while to get.
So what about in therapy, if you did one-on-one, it's sort of like you're talking, like you said, you as the therapist or the social worker may not have the answer,
Right.
but how do you bring it out of the client or the person who's getting the intervention? That's
It's really just a lot of listening, just really giving them the opportunity to talk, and that's what they need. They just need to just keep it up, keep it moving, just getting it off their chest. And as a therapist, you start to listen to that, and you can interpret it differently, repeating back what they're saying so that they get an understanding of how they're feeling.
Right. Yeah. And it's I think it's a process that, sometimes people might go to, let's say, one meeting and they think, wow, that felt really good. But if they continue to go, then you see as the months go on, it really does help a lot.
Progress.
And a lot of the elementary schools do offer, social work groups and different techniques to kind of get the kids to feel more comfortable in the setting. And
they have workshops that they can go to, and they try to bring in games to just try to get them to understand what their feeling is, or what they're feeling, or what's upsetting them, or why they're having a bad day.
Now, you have also built really great relationships with fellow classmates, and why was that important to you? When you came on campus, did you know anyone, or you really just met them?
I knew nobody, not one person. That was another fear, because I knew nobody. In fact, the first class I went into, and I don't even remember which class it was, I was so nervous. I got there really early, and so I just walked in. I didn't know. And so the professor looks at me and she says, "Do you think you can mind and wait for the class to finish before you come in?" I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But I was so nervous.
Oh, you didn't know.
I didn't know that I was waiting for the class. I thought I was late because there was a class there, but there were kids waiting in the hallway.
Oh, okay.
So, I was just nervous. So I didn't have any friend.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody coming in now? What would you tell them now that you've been through it?
Yeah. Watch everybody else.
Yeah.
See what they do, not jump. And, just don't be nervous.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous.
And it was, it's a new experience really coming onto the campus. But when you drive onto this campus, there's sort of a calming feeling that comes over you, because you know that you're really going to get what you need, which I think so many of our graduates are leaving here very strong.
Definitely.
And really well prepared. And a lot of them might leave Nassau and go right to Hofstra, and then they get to Hofstra and say, "Wow, it's I thought it was going to be so hard, but I'm actually able to keep up with the work."
Right.
Or
that's how I felt when I left here.
Yeah.
And I went to SUNY Plattsburgh. I did worry that I wasn't going to be able to just continue the path, but no, Nassau prepared me well. And, Dr. Jewett with his social work classes prepared me very well, so that when I went to Plattsburgh, it was a very easy transition.
Yeah. And what about any books that they recommended that you read here, or that you really liked, that inspired you?
Oh, boy.
Because I know that, there's so many books that are being recommended. I always tell the students to try to, you don't have to buy every book, but to build kind of like a professional library, so that in the future you have them to reference, because then you could share them with your students too. There's one that I was reading now, Social Emotional Learning and the Brain, because I think, again, we should know about
that connection,
the development, what a 5-year-old might be thinking versus an 11-year-old. And now when you see the kids, the 11-year-olds act 14.
They do.
And the 14s, they look 25.
They do.
And so it's kind of like, I wonder, is Piaget's theory, are these theories really true now? Because now you have the kids just grow up mentally so fast. I think that they're very quick with, oh, well, I saw that on YouTube, it has to be true.
Yeah, it's that whole social media thing.
Yeah.
I think has really advanced them.
Yeah. And I mean, you want them to have a little bit of innocence.
Sure, you do.
And I don't know, it's hard for them to keep it.
It is.
You don't want them to not be savvy in society, but at the same time, you don't want them to be exposed early on to so many things that
they're not ready for yet.
Yeah. And, even any type of, discussions. What do we really want to talk about? If they want to talk about like God, or if they want to talk about what's customs and societies, stereotypes. I think a lot we deal with a lot of like stereotyping, and I think that's you would think we could come away from that, but it seems to always be around. It always seems to be something that kids think, oh, well, you live here, so you must have that. Oh, you go to Catholic school, so it must be like that,
Right.
And now your sons, you have 4 sons.
I have 4 sons.
and your son Kenny graduated from Brown University, and then now he is pursuing his doctorate?
Yes, his PhD at Rockefeller University in the city.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
And then your little one, who was an Eagle Scout.
Yes. He's
He
doing the culinary program here.
Yeah, and I know that he was really inspired to cook, and he really wanted to do that. So how does he like those classes here?
Oh, he loves it. And he
Yeah.
cooks wonderful for me at home. I love it.
Yeah, it's great when they cook.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and as long as they clean up too, then
He
then
does.
it's
He does
even
a great
good. It's
job.
even happy. So, what advice would you give to the incoming freshmen?
The non-traditional students or the younger students?
Yeah, both.
Well, the non-traditional students, just don't let fear, anxiety, and worry stop you.
Yeah,
Like what you were saying, or I was saying, you're never too old to learn.
right.
Don't listen to the people who ask you the question, well, why are you doing that? Like why would you be doing that at this point in your life? Just don't listen to that. Just have your own vision, your own tunnel.
Yeah.
Your own focus where you're not hearing this person, that person. And for the younger person, I guess the same thing.
Yeah.
Just to stay focused. And in high school and college is going to be a little different.
Right. Yeah.
But just remaining focused is the key.
Yeah, and I think the stress too, when your son decided, and then he was accepted to other culinary schools, and he could have gone away, and the fact that he chose Nassau, that was a good decision for him.
Sure.
Because I don't think he was ready to go, and it was right here, and I think that comfort level will help him to
Definitely.
move forward, and I think that's really important to any of the high school kids coming out, because Nassau is an amazing option.
It is.
And there's so much on campus that they can be exposed to,
Definitely.
taking all the classes. And then if you get your liberal arts degree, you can really go anywhere.
Sure.
You pretty
That's
much
right.
can go
That's
anywhere.
right.
And so we always encourage those students to do that because it's very, very important. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien. Our guest today is Cecilia Bradley, class of 2022. How can our listeners contact you?
I guess through email.
Sure. Would you like to share your email with the guests?
Sure. My email is cbradforwellness@gmail.com. So that's cbradwellness@gmail.com.
Thank you for being here today, Cecilia Bradley. I would like to thank you for being our guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien. I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud graduate. Lion Tales is available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. More information is online at nccradio.org. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.